This lesson is about exponents, and an exponent is what tells you how many times a number or a base is used as a factor. In other words, if I have 3 with this little 2 here, 3 is my base and 2 is my exponent, and I read this 3 to the second power, the base here is my factor, and the exponent is telling me how many times this base of 3 is a factor. In other words, this base, 3, is a factor 2 times. So I would write 3 times 3. 3 is used as a factor 2 times, and then I'd work it out. 3 times 3 is 9. Another example, 2 to the third power. This time our base is 2. That means it's going to be the one that's used as the factor, and our exponent is 3. And so I read it 2 to the third power, and it means that my base is 2, or my factor, and so I'm going to do 2. And how many times is 2 going to be a factor? It's going to be a factor 3 times. So I do 2 times 2 times 2. Notice that's 3 2's. 2 is used as a factor 3 times. Now be careful, it's multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4, and then 4 times 2 is 8. So 2 to the third power is equal to 8. The way to read and simplify exponents, by the way, simplify means to solve or to work out. Sometimes you will see it say find the value of. Here's an example. 4 to the second power. That's how I read this exponent. But this has a special name too because it's a 2, and so I can also read that 4 squared. But what it means is 4 times 4, the base 2 times, so 2 4s, and 4 times 4 equals 16. I read this one 5 to the third power, or since it's got a 3 as an exponent, it has a special name also, 5 cubed. We'll talk about why they have special names when we talk about geometry. 5 cubed, and that means that I'm going to use this base 5 as a factor 3 times. So I'm going to do 5 times 5 times 5. So 5 cubed, or 5 to the third power, equals 125. And finally, to read this one, I read it as 2 to the fourth power. It doesn't have a special name, it's just 2 to the fourth power. So any exponent above a 2 or a 3, you just read it to the whatever power, the 16th power, the 27th power. But 2 to the fourth power means that 2, my base, is my factor, and it's a factor 4 times. So I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 4 times I wrote that 2. And 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 equals 16. An interesting fact about 1 as a base. 1 to any power equals 1. 1 to the third power means 1 times 1 times 1. I can also read that as 1 cubed. 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. 1 to the 8th power equals 1 times 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 1, which also equals 1. 1 to the 247th power. I hope you'll excuse that I didn't write that out, but it equals 1. So let's look at a few more and practice them, and then you'll be good to go with exponents. 6 to the third power. I can also read that as 6 cubed, but it means 6 times 6 times 6. And then I'd have to work that out. 6 times 6 is 36. 36 times 6 is, I think, 216. Okay? 8 to the second power, or 8 squared, means 8 times 8. And 8 times 8 is 64. 4 to the fifth power means 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 4s, and then I would work that out. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64, and then I would have to continue from there to get the final answer. So that is a little lesson on exponents.